Today we're looking at the Bitcoin Robot Grid MT5. This video is sponsored by our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Take your trading to the next level through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout. Click the link in the description to download the EA completely for free. So when I saw this, I saw it was from a new vendor, but it looked like our good old friend Marzena Maria Smith's type of thumbnail design. So I actually looked at the name, and realistically that she just has now registered under a company. Somebody who's done this myself on MQL5. If you register under, you can register under a company name, so you're able to, essentially what would show up here is your company, but if you click on it, you can see the name. So this is our good old friend who comes back every once in a while, publishing a new bot on the MQL5 marketplace. And let's dive into this one to see what's new about it, why is it rising to the top of the MQL5 marketplace as well, and just kind of look into it and ascertain what the strategy is. For some reason, people keep buying bots from this developer, despite the fact that I think all of them are bad, except some people also tend to like some of their bots, and I've actually heard mixed opinions. Some people saying that they're blatant scams, whereas others say that they're fantastic and some of the best bots that they've ever used. So I'm curious to see as to how this one will actually land. I would guess that this one is starting to climb back to the top of the MQL5 marketplace as Bitcoin has started to kind of have a rally, and people tend to be interested in buying Bitcoin bots when Bitcoin itself is doing well. And really, it's her similar sales page. There's nothing particularly unique about it except that this is a grid strategy on Bitcoin. So most likely it's trading a very basic, meaner version strategy on the Bitcoin pair. And realistically, that is suicide, right? Bitcoin is such an insanely volatile asset. Trying to trade a grid on Bitcoin makes absolutely no sense. And the fact that there's no live signal here is also not a great sign, because if your bot was any good, you probably would want to show performance. So I wouldn't be surprised that it's quite challenging. So here, the one kind of saving grace is that there is a max drawdown percent. So perhaps if you want to kind of cap your risk, and if you're able to actually significantly cap your risk with an equity stop loss, it could work, but I'm still a bit skeptical. One thing to note is that with any sort of grid-based bot, if you want to trade that, you should always have an equity stop loss, which shows that, hey, if I go 10% into drawdown, close all my positions. And essentially, if you just don't hit your equity stop loss that often, the system as a whole can still be profitable. Because let's say you only hit the equity stop loss twice a year and you lose 10% each time, but you actually make 40% over the entire year because you made 60% gross minus 20% of the equity stop losses, and you netted with that 40%. So that is actually a legitimate way of trading this style of system, but I don't believe that they're doing that here. Just because if you try and do this with Bitcoin, you're going to hit that stop loss so insanely often that it's probably just not a great idea. And actually, very refreshingly from this developer, when I ran the backtest here in MQL5, it doesn't appear to be a total manipulated backtest. And that's pretty neat, because typically with a lot of their bots, they either depend on people not knowing how to backtest properly, or they're just the beautiful straight line that goes up continuously. So the fact that we're seeing it actually blow up here is not a bad sign, because it shows that there's likely less manipulation than usual. And exactly to my point, this is a classic grid system on Bitcoin, which is very illogical. So they're just opening up tons and tons and tons of trades as price goes against it and then hoping to close. But the issue is, eventually this system is guaranteed to blow up. Here, I believe it was in November of 2024 when I ran this backtest. So let's see if I can find exactly where it went boom. Here we go. So classic example, there was one massive spike in Bitcoin and then all of it blew. And this is the issue with Bitcoin, right? You can have these huge candles, and this is on the 1 hour chart. We just have this period of consolidation, and then you have a 4% spike. And it does happen with some assets, but Bitcoin it particularly happens with. So attempting to run a grid on Bitcoin makes no sense. And what they're telling you here to do is to also run it on every tick. Oh, sorry, this is 1 minute open, high, low, close. But let's run it on every tick per her suggestion, and we can see what's happening there. You should run this on every tick based on real ticks. but in the interest of speed, I ran it quickly on 1 minute open, high, low, close in order to ascertain what it's doing. So we can see here is that this is showing a degree of lot scaling. There we go. So it actually does appear to be properly demonstrating the martingale effect, where you have this detachment in the equity line from the balance line. And this is a prime example of this type of system. However, it's actually very refreshing to see from this development team that they are actually showing that. Okay, so now let's just do one more test on 1 minute open, high, low, close to see if it's indeed doing lot scaling or if it's just opening an insane amount of positions, because it could be doing either or. Some developers now have figured out that people will look for lot scaling in terms of volume. Okay. So what they do instead is they just add more positions. But nope, this is a classic martingale. We go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 to 7 to 8 to 9, and then we just keep opening. So yeah, this is not a very good idea. And if we go here, we can see the same thing where they really scaled 10x in their lot size, and then they all just blew. Because here, yeah. And this will happen if they use a small grid on Bitcoin. So how the system works is they open one position initially, typically in a mean reversion and trigger, like a Bollinger Band or an oscillator, and then as price goes away by a certain distance, you'll open another position, and another position, and another position, all while you're scaling lots. And then the issue is that if price never reverses the mean, because you're trading a trending asset, eventually, you can't just keep opening and opening and opening positions, because martingale only works assuming you have an unlimited bankroll. So eventually it will just blow. So doing this on Bitcoin is just very silly. You can use the strategy on a slow moving currency pair, but this is arguably the most volatile asset that's currently on the market, so it makes essentially no sense. The only thing worse than this would be running it on like a meme coin, like trying to run this on, I don't know, Luna, or I don't think Luna's a meme coin. Some sort of random coin would probably be even more dangerous, but this is definitely rather dangerous, and it's not a good bot. So guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Don't buy this, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.